What is up, Nerf Nation? I'm Naptown Nerf, and today we're going to be doing a mod guide for the Mega Tri-Brake. Let's go ahead and flip her over here, get your number 0 screwdriver out, and start undoing the screws. So there's one screw actually that's hiding that you're gonna have to get in. There's like a little hole here, and that's what I think you use actually to open up this screw here. Let's see if I can get that out. There we go. Magnet is very useful. Also a cup to hold all your screws is very useful. There we go. Tad bit sticky, but comes apart nicely. We'll set that aside. Go ahead and put our tactical rail in the thing there. We got a spring, and I don't know where that came from. Oh, it probably came from up here. I'll figure this out later, but I'm guessing it went into here somewhere. So for now, we'll set that aside. This thing comes apart in many different pieces, so it should be pretty easy to paint if you want to do that. And this teases out just like that. A little bit easier to work with without that on right now, so we'll remove that. And this is the blaster. You don't really even need this portion if you don't want. If you want it to be easier to load, you don't need to put this back on, but I think this is what makes it so fun and cool, so I will not be removing that. But this does pop off. You can probably pop this black part off, so you can just paint the red and then paint the black something different if you want to, because it just snaps in there just like that. So yeah, that's pretty neat. Alright, so let's go ahead and take out the blaster portion, which is this right here, and remove the shell there for the time being. And this is our plunger rod, which is very long, and has a pretty good sized plunger tube actually, which is nice. Obviously this portion right here, you're not going to get any compression until you get there, and this is pretty loose in here, so we will be increasing that. I think it is slightly tapered because it's way looser out here, and then you can really feel the air collapse down right there. So that's a little unfortunate. This is very common for Nerf to do, especially with these jolts. It's like you don't get very much seal until you get right to the very end. So we're going to definitely increase that, and we'll definitely be doing a spring replacement, though there is no screw unfortunately to take this off, so that's a little bit disappointing. There's two options. You can either pry this head off and then epoxy it back on, but then you have to deal with not knowing if it's gonna catch or not and when you compress it, or you can twist a spring onto it and twist this one off if need be. So I'm not sure exactly what we're gonna do yet. I would like to hope that we could keep this, but I'm not sure, so we will see. Okay, so I have a 10 kg Nerf Turf spring. This is the old version, but there is a new 10 kg spring that Foam Freaks is coming out with, and I'm assuming this, but I'm pretty sure it's the exact same spring, so that's pretty cool. I really do like this spring. It works in a lot of things. It's made for the Retaliator, but it works in quite a few blasters. I've used this in my Messenger blaster before. It works out really well in that one, and I plan on trying to use it for this because it looks like they are pretty much identical in length. This has a little less coils, but they're a little thicker, so hopefully we can get the compression we need and just do a straight replacement. I'm not 100% sure if we could keep this spring or not. My guess is it probably will not catch with both springs on there, and it would be very difficult to weave this on over this and make sure everything is running smoothly, and it has to be either the same size dimension wise, or it has to be wide enough to go completely over it. So I don't know if that's going to be the case, so I think I'm going to go ahead and remove this. I'm not looking to get like extreme power out of this blaster. I just want to give it a good power boost to make it a little more usable, but still allow it to prime pretty easily and whatnot. So I think this is going to give me the power I'm looking for, so I'm going to remove this one and put this one on. So I'm going to take some needle nose pliers here and try to take the edge here and get it off. That should be able to wind off now. Probably would have been better to do the other side. I might have been able to wind it off the end. Alright, let me try this side. This might be easier actually. I don't do it this way very often. I usually just remove the head and then glue it back on, but for the sake of you guys, I think it would be better to do it this way. Now another option is just to cut the thing off. If you have some bolt cutters, you might be able to just cut it off, and that if you don't care about the spring, but you're pretty much going to ruin the spring somewhat anyways trying to remove it this way, so I guess it really doesn't matter. There we go. Now it should come off. There we go. Alright. So a little bit easier, I think. You probably can do it from either way, obviously, but I think this is slightly easier to do it from this end after thinking about it. And then just wind it right off. There we go. Spring removed. Alright, so now the tricky part is getting this on. And I really don't like winding them on like this. It is not my favorite, but that's what we're going to have to do unless we want to completely remove this, which ideally for this guide, I'm trying to make a very simple guide, so I'm going to try not to do that. We'll see how much it tests my patience, but we can probably pry this out and then wind it on and then crimp it back. So we're going to try that. Alright, so this is a pretty tough spring, a lot harder than this one, but what I've done is put it against a hard surface and kind of got the tip, and then I pushed down with the needle nose pliers, and then had this underneath a table, a hard surface, and it kind of gave me a little bit of a gap there, hopefully enough that we can wind it on. It might be nice to have a little bit more, but this will keep it somewhat nicer in the end, hopefully, so we will try to wind it on here, and this should allow us to do so. So there we go, and try to get this. Once you get it started, you're pretty golden. Just got to get that on that side of the rod. There we go, and hopefully, nope, didn't quite get it. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right, now we're moving, and we should be able to twist it on. All right, we're on, and so hopefully that will catch for us. And now we will move on to trying to increase the seal a little bit of the O-ring. All right, so we are going to need a flathead screwdriver ideally, or something to get this O-ring off. I like to use a flathead screwdriver. It comes right off pretty easy. We want to set that aside. We don't want to ruin that. And then we need a paper towel to wipe off the grease inside of there. We want to remove all that, so our Teflon tape or electrical tape is what I like to use, can stick there. So we'll just wipe all that off. All right, so that's better. I mean, it's hard to get all of it off completely, but hopefully we'll get a good adhesion there with the electrical tape. So we want to take some electrical tape and cut a thin enough strip that will fit in there. All right, so I cut my electrical tape, and now we will start on here, and I don't know how much we'll need, but I don't think it's going to be too much. So we'll see here how much this will wrap around. Sometimes I like to also take my screwdriver flathead and kind of force the tape down in there to get it started. Once you get it started, it usually goes around pretty easily. Press it down there at the end. That's pretty good, and we'll go ahead and put our O-ring back on and see how the seal is now. Oh, actually that is very good. So about 3 loops seems to be good. You don't want it to be overly tight, but you want it to be a nice seal there, so it should still move freely. Okay, so before we assemble this, we want to re-lubricate everything. Hopefully you guys have some silicone grease or some super lube. I got this from Containment Crew's website. It's really good stuff. I like to use this. Some people have the theory that you need to remove all the other grease and then put this on. I'm not sure how necessary that is, but I will go ahead and do that. Go ahead and use a paper towel and just remove all the old grease that's in there. There isn't really a ton of it, to be honest. And then remove all the old grease you can off the O-ring and the front of the plunger head there. And then we will take our super lube and lube her up. Go ahead and just get a pretty good amount around there. There we go. And then we can take this and put it into our plunger and kind of use that to lubricate the plunger. Just kind of go back and forth to lubricate that plunger. You can hear that it has a pretty good seal there, so that's a good sound. Okay, you guys, so I tried to assemble the blaster and the spring was actually catching on these rails right here, this part of the shell. They're, I think, designed to guide the spring a little bit better, but this spring is a little bit wider than the stock spring, so we are going to have to grind these off with a Dremel. Ideally, if you don't have a Dremel, you may be able to use snips like this and just snip away at it. I may try that actually, just so this mod will be possible without a Dremel. Kind of was my idea of doing this mod guide, is to give people that don't have a lot of tools an ability to mod a blaster. So I'm going to try with these. These are really good tools for removing plastic. Alright, so I basically went ahead and removed all of it so it's flush there. It's probably a good idea to go in with some sandpaper and kind of smooth that out a little bit. So that's what I'll do, and then hopefully this will go together and work. Okay guys, so when you put your plunger head and rod back into your plunger tube, you want to make sure this part is facing that way so it can catch, and that these things are facing up and down like that. So we'll go ahead and tease this in here. Go ahead and put that over there. So everything should be sitting down nicely. Okay, so I figured out how this goes back in. It was pretty simple. It just kind of teases behind here, and the spring rests in there, just like that. It does not like to stay in, so you're going to have to kind of hold it. So I'm going to actually take that out for a second while we put this in, and it kind of, you just have to kind of get it under there, and then this part has to run through here, so you kind of get it just like that. So there we go, just like that. Should move smoothly. And then this guy just can fit right in here. Okay. Make sure that's sitting down, and then we'll take the other half of the shell and try to tease it back together. I always forget this, but we can hopefully get that in now. It is better to put that in beforehand, but it's a little difficult with all the moving pieces here. So we'll get that, try to get that teased back in there. Okay. Go ahead and get our screws here, and we will find the smallest one and set it aside because that's the one that goes in the tactical rail. That one goes right in there, and then all the rest can go wherever they want. So I would recommend starting with the middle part here, getting that in place so it kind of holds both halves together, and then you can put all the rest in. Remember that you have to use this little hole here to get this one in here, just like that. All right, you guys, let's see how much of a performance upgrade we gained with that 10 kg turf spring and a little E-tape under that O-ring. Pretty simple mod. I hope this is good for people just getting into modding. That was kind of my idea behind this mod. Nothing too crazy. So let's go ahead and see what we get. 98, 92, 90, 99, 86, 81, 98, 88, 89. So with that top barrel, which is the
highest performing, obviously, with the Smart AR system. We gained almost 30 FPS, at least 25 there. So I think that's pretty darn good performance for the tri-brake. I think you could probably put even a beefier spring in there as long as it can get enough compression and catch. You can obviously upgrade this to as much as you want. Now, Mega Darts don't do great when you put real high FPS behind them because they just don't fly very accurately as it is, and the more FPS you put behind them, they lose even more accuracy. So just be aware of that. But hopefully you enjoyed this mod guide, and I highly recommend cracking open your own blaster and giving it a shot. So thank you guys so much for watching. Smash that like button. Please subscribe. Check me out on Facebook, and I'm now on Twitter. And as always, peace out.